Welcome. Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Dutrissa, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up here in New South Wales, Australia. So thanks for joining me today, and please jump on and say hello. Make sure that you've given permission to StreamYards, to whatever live you're on, whether you're on one of my Facebook lives or whether you're on YouTube, so then I can see your name when it pops up. If you leave a comment, and please do leave a comment. Let me know where you're from. Say hello. It's always great to see you. Hi, Bryony. How are you? I'm glad you found it, the information for StreamYards. So it's great to see you here with us. So I'm going to just flip my camera down now so you can see my desk, and we're going to get started. So it won't be one moment. Okay, let me just move this light a little bit out of the road. It's glaring a little bit. I might bring it back in a moment when we start working, but for the moment, with the stamp set and my catalogue here, I'll just remove that. Now, the stamp set we're going to look at today is Wild and Sweet. It's in the new annual catalogue on page 87, and it's number 158775 if you want to order that. And of course you can order that with michelledutrissa.stampinup.net if you're here in Australia. Now, what drew me to this particular stamp initially is the fact that it has a koala on it, one of our Australian native animals. Unfortunately, this animal was, our koalas were very badly affected by the bushfires we had a couple of years ago, and has now been listed as an animal that could become extinct if we're not very careful and look after them. So they are a very beautiful looking animal. They are a wild animal. Then if you're not here from Australia, they're not something that we see regularly in the bush. We do have to look for them because they only do like particular types of eucalyptus trees. Now, I don't know a great deal about them, but I know that when I was a kid I used to see them a lot more than what we see them now. But I have a sister and a brother-in-law and a nephew who live overseas, and I have been looking for a long time for a stamp set that I can use to make cards to send to them that they may be able to reuse again to their friends over there. So this one here really attracted me because I thought, what better to send my sister than a card with a koala on it. So we're going to make a card using this particular stamp set. We're going to be using, as I said, the Wild and Sweet stamps, which is a red rubber cling stamp set. We're also going to be using some blender pens. Now, I don't use blender pens very often. Actually, my pack here is quite old, but they still work. But you can find these on page 129. It's this one up here in the top corner. And what it is just a soft brush headed blend ink. It's just a soft brush pen. This one here, it comes in a pack of 3. They're $21.75 for a pack of 3. They will last a long time. They've got a nib at either end. Both nibs are exactly the same, and it allows you to pick up ink from your ink pad and transfer it onto your paper with a brush. There's fluid in this in the barrel, and that's what allows us to do it. And as long as we clean the nib, you can go from colour to colour, and I'll show you how I do that all the way through this tutorial. So let me just get rid of my catalogue here. I'll pop that right out over the road, and we'll just move my stamp set over there. So the colours we're going to be using for this card today, I'm going to be using Soft Succulent as my card base. So I've got Soft Succulent there. I've got a piece of basic white, which I'm going to pop in the middle there for writing on as my insert. I've got a couple of pieces of Soft Succulent here, which is going to become my mat for my card. I've got a piece of Sahara Sand, which is what we're going to work on and what we're going to colour on. And then I've got some scraps of some vellum, some Soft Succulent, and also one of the metallic papers. This also comes in a set with rose gold as well as the regular gold. So we're going to be using a punch, and I can't remember what the punch is called, but it is in the catalogue bowels and something, I think. But it's a double punch, so it punches out 2 different types of, or a leaf, and then this one here almost looks like a leaf or a flower head. So we're going to be using that as well. The colours that I'm looking at using today are smoky slate, soft suede, soft succulent, and maybe a little bit of evening evergreen. So they're the colours that we're going to be playing with. So I'm going to do first is we're going to remove all these bits here. I've got my stamp already blocked up, ready to go. And we're going to start with our smoky slate, and we're going to stamp off our koala in the tree using smoky slate. Now, because this is a fairly large stamp, I'm actually going to take my stamp pad to my stamp because it allows me to control a little bit better with the ink on my stamp, and you actually don't press down as heavy when you take it the other way, but I am making sure I've got good coverage. So I'll just pop that there. I'm just going to line this up on my grid paper. This grid paper is very good because you can line things up on there and see where you're going to position it, because I've already cut this down to the size that I'm wanting to use, and that size is 8 centimeters by 10.5. And I'm just going to press that down quite firmly, just like that. So that's our koala there already stamped, and we're going to now colour in some of the elements. Now, one of the reasons why I've coloured my koala in smoky slate is because koalas are usually a grey and white, or even a little bit of soft beigey colours can be in there as well. Hi Joan, thanks for joining us today. So we're going to start with our tree, the 2 branches that the koala is sitting in. As I said before, they do like gum trees. Now, gum trees are usually a grey in colour, but I am going to add a little bit of the soft suede into my gum tree today, just to give it a bit of a brown toning, just so I can differentiate it to the koala. So to start with, I've got my blender pen here. I'm just going to use one of the nibs. Both nibs are exactly the same. There's not one thicker than the other. I'm going to brush it off onto my scratch paper here just to make sure it's clean. And I'm going to use my stamp pad like a palette. So I'm just going to bring out the lid here, and you can see where I've got some colour here pooled. And I'm just going to take a little bit of this colour. Now, I am going to work fairly lightly to start with, because if you add too much dark, you can't sort of remove it at all. Also too, if you overwork your paper, even with a blender pen, your paper can peel. So I just really want to work fairly lightly and quickly, and all I'm just wanting to do is just add a bit of colour into here. So I'm just using a flicking motion and just adding some of those colours. Now I'm just going to bring this light back around just so then you've got a better view. Hope that is better. Okay, so I'm just adding some colour and just flicking it off at the ends. I don't want any sharp lines or anything. Now I'm going to come back in with a little bit more brown, because I just want to put a little bit more brown, a bit more shading into this area here. Again, I'm just using a flicking motion. I don't want to, noticing there, because I'm starting from here with my flicking, that I'm getting a little bit, my brush is starting to cling a little bit, which means that paper there is getting a little bit soft. So I want to leave that now and move on and put a little bit of blending along here, just around where there would be shadowing around his paws, and just bring that up. So you can put a little bit in between there where you think there might be a bit of shadow. So now I'm going to work on the tree that's behind him. So again, I'm going to just pick up some lighter colour and just go all over that quite quickly, just adding a little bit. Don't want to add too much colour, because I almost want this like not sepia tones, but that sort of lightness. It's just to take, you know, I want a natural sort of look, but not overly bright. Now again, once I've done that, I've put colour all around. Now I am also too picking up a little bit of that grey that I've already stamped on there, and that little bit of grey is also moving about, which is probably good because gum trees have got a bit of grey in their bark. But I want to just, again, just make a bit of shadowing just around him, just to so that it just highlights him a little bit more from the tree. And again, just around here, just bring out a little bit more shadowing that he might be casting on that tree. Okay, so to clean my blender pen, I'm just going to run my nib on there, and as I haven't used that much colour, it's not that filthy, but I just go around and clean, and now that's clean again to pick up another colour. Now, as I said before, because I stamped this in grey, what I can do is, because koala bears or koalas, because they're not actually a bear, but koalas have got quite a dark, usually shiny sort of nose. So I'm just going to use my blender pen just to sort of spread that colour that's already there in the ink a little bit on his nose and his eyes, just to help them to stand out just that little bit more. And now I'm going to bring in my soft succulent, because we want to bring in some colour into those leaves. So again, all I'm going to do is pick up some colour, and I just want to use some light colour. So I'm pulling, I've got a dark patch here, I'm just pulling all this light stuff here, and I want to go over some of these leaves and just add a little bit of colour in there. I hope you've all been having a good week. Now, I will let you know, I will not be doing a live next week. I have got a 3-day embroidery retreat happening, and I'm going to go to that and maybe learn a few more things from other people. But I have been looking forward to this, and because of COVID and everything, it was cancelled last year, so I'm getting to go this year. So I'm really looking forward to that, just something a little bit different. One of my other loves is embroidery and sewing. So unfortunately, I won't be doing a live next Friday. So again, I'm just going to add some colour up here with these leaves up here. It is fairly soft. So I'm quite happy with that. So it's only just a little bit of colour. So I don't know whether you can actually, how well you can see that, but I'm really not adding too much. I want this to be quite a soft, natural sort of look. Now, the evening evergreen, I'm going to see how this goes. All I want to do is just add, and I'm just going to pick up some of the lighter colour, because a colour like this, a little bit can go a long way. And all I want to do is just add a little bit at the shading on these leaves, just to add a tiny little bit more definition to them. And I'm not even just going over the whole leaf. All I'm doing is just the where it joins onto the branches, just adding just that little bit more colour there. Just to give it a little bit more highlight. And it's, as I said, it's not much, because this is a very dark colour, and a little bit of this can go a long way. Okay, so that's it for my colouring. So again, I'm just going to wipe my nib before I put my lid back on, so it's all ready for next time that I want to use it. Now, I generally store these lying down. That's probably why it might have lasted me for so long, because I bought these years ago. It's because I generally keep them lying flat. a little bit of something on there. That's okay. But there you go. There's the koala. So I haven't actually coloured the koala at all. I'm just using that smoky slate that I stamped it in to be the colours and the highlight of that koala. And all I've done is just colour in his the background and the foreground with the tree. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take my trimmer. So let me just move those all out of the road. And I'm just going to add a little bit more interest to this piece. And I'm just going to, now I need to remove my cutting blade right out of the road because I don't want to cut anything. I'm going to place this on my trimmer on these lines here coming down are on the 1/4 inch line marks. So I'm going to place my edge of my paper to the right hand side on that first 1/4 inch, and I'm just going to run, whoops, what I am going to do is actually turn this upside down and do it this way because I want to make a ridge, but I want sort of like if you can imagine a valley and a mountain, and I want a mountaintop to be on the front of my card. So by turning it upside down and using my scoring blade, just run that a couple of times, and that will cause, like, I don't know whether you can see that, it's like a little edge there. So I'm going to turn that around upside down, put that on that 1/4 inch mark line there, and do that all the way around, all 4 sides of my piece of paper. I've already done that one. Let's turn it this way, turn it the wrong direction. So again, it's on that 1/4 inch using a scoring blade. Let's run that up and down a few times. And all it's going to do is just add a border around the outside. Now, let me just remove this out of the road and then I can. So all I've done, and I'm not quite sure whether you can see it, all I've done is just added a border all the way around that design. And it just gives a little bit of an interest, gives a little bit of a finishing to it, rather than just leaving it completely plain. Now I've got a matte piece here in my soft succulent, and I've cut this 1/2 centimetre bigger. So it's going to be, we're going to mount that just like that onto there. So I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue for this. You could also use your seal, and I am just going to add some glue. I might have to get another one out soon, all the way around there. You don't want to put too much because you don't want to have it oozing everywhere. And then we're going to attach that to this. But by using that multi-purpose glue, it enables you to move your cardstock around a little bit. Okay. So once we've done that, I'm just going to pop that to one side. I'm going to bring in my card base. And my card base is 10.5 centimetres wide by 29.9, and I've scored it at 14.9. Now this is what they call a 10-fold card, because when it stands up like that. I generally do most of my cards like this these days. It's just something a bit different to a book fold card, and I quite like it. So in the way, it works for me, but there's no reason why you couldn't do it the other direction, just taking your A4 piece of cardstock and cutting it in half. If I remember correctly, you would cut it in half at 10.5 centimetres, no, at 14.9, and then score it at 10.5. So we're going to pop this piece in here. Now this insert piece is 10 centimetres by 14.4. Just give that a good rub down in there. Pop that lid onto there. And then we're going to put some dimensionals on the back of this one here. So I'm using my large dimensionals. Now you could, if you wanted to, stamp some images in your soft succulent on the back there if you've got some in leaves. I just didn't have anything here that I thought was appropriate. but I think this will work quite well. So there's lots of variations that you could do with this. And unfortunately, this particular stamp set has only got the animals in it. It doesn't have any leaves or anything to use. It's like a smaller stamp you could use as a bit of a light background. But there are plenty out there, I'm sure, that you could, if you wanted to add a bit more texture, you could find something. Just checking which ones of these I've taken the backs off, which ones I haven't. So how's the weather where you are today, Joan? I hope it's all good. Okay, so there's our koala. We're going to pop him on here. Now, I am going to pop him up towards the top a little bit and just leave a little bit of a gap down towards the bottom. I don't like to have things too close to the bottom here, but as I've explained before, just for the fact that if you have it too close to the bottom, it tends to look like it's falling off. But what we're going to do is we're going to grab our punch and we're going to punch out some leaves. So I've got my vellum here and I just want to cut out some leaves from that. My soft succulent, and you could use any scrap piece for this. That piece, and then I'm going to use this one here to cut out. Now, if excess, keep them, put them into a little bag or into a container and keep them for next time, because I'm not going to be using all of these, so I just want to use a couple of them. And we're going to layer these up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this large vellum leaf and layer it with this one here. And I'm just going to pop these, just going across the corner and hanging off down the bottom there a little bit. I'm not putting a sentiment on this card because I just want to be able to send it to my sister. Hi Sylvia, how are you? First time catching up, that's great. Horrible weather. Oh, you're in New Zealand. Oh, yes. It'd be quite cold and windy in some parts of New Zealand. We went there years ago. I'd love to go back one day. Anyway, so I've just punched out those and we're going to pop them on there. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of them just to layer them on there. So I'm going to put the vellum one first, and I'm just putting the glue really just down, a little bit higher up really. Just coming up there a little bit because I do want to have that all coming off. Now, normally I wouldn't put glue straight onto the back of vellum because when gluing down vellum, you want to make sure that wherever you put your adhesive is going to be hidden because it can show through because your vellum is a semi-sheer paper. Vellum used to be, traditionally, was leather that had been rubbed down so fine that it became very sheer, and it's what they used to write on back into probably into the medieval days. So that's a little bit of history on vellum for you. But today it's like a non-porous paper, which means it's really good for quite a few different techniques. But we're layering things up on it there, and then I'm going to put this little one here. I'm not going to use the big gold leaf. I'm just going to use this little one just to add a little bit of brightness or oomph. And I'm just popping a little bit of glue there just at the base. And I'm going to pop that there. Now I haven't added glue to the top of these because I like to have these sort of sitting a little bit loose. Just so then, you've got a little bit of dimension. You can curl it up if you want to, curl them up a little bit by your fingers, or even before you glue them down with your bone folder, you can curve it. Now, we've got like a little pile happening there, and I want to just hide that. So what I've got here is my linen thread. I've asked you all what your weather's like. Our weather's not too bad here today. I haven't been outside though, must admit. we've been very cold here. Oh, it looks like it could be still windy. We've had lots and lots of wind. We're not too far from, well, we're in the lower part of the mountains, so I'm not quite sure how high we're up, but we're not high enough up that we're getting snow, but there is that possibility. So now this is my bow maker here. You can get these bow makers from me when you purchase products from my shop for $50 or more. I will send out one of these bow makers to you, and they're just a very small bow. It makes a bow which is only about 2.75 centimeters in width. But what you do is you take your bow, you got these two prongs coming down here. You take your ribbon or your twine like I've got there. Now I'm going to make a bow that's going to be at least 3 bows in one. So I'm going to wrap this around once, twice, 3 times. Then I'm just going to cut a bit of length there and take this tail, and we're going to poke that through that hole, grab it from underneath, bring it up through that center again, and then we're going to tie a knot. If you pull that fairly tight, that should keep. And then when we pull that off there, I've got a bow there, and I've got 3 bows on either side. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that, the tails, just that little bit there. You've had thunder, lightning, rain, and really fierce winds today. Oh, Sylvia, that's yeah. It's I don't mind sitting on a rock edge and watching thunder in the distance when I'm close to the ocean, but when it's going on around me, yeah, it can be a little bit frightening. So I hope you guys are okay. We've just got winds, and we haven't even got to our windy month here in the Southern Highlands. Our windy month is usually around about August, September and August. So, but it's been blowing gales, but then they've been getting lots of snow on the mountains. And when it snows up in the mountains around Thredbo and that, then we get all the cold winds down from that, because we're only really a couple of hours drive away. So, but it's going to be interesting next week. My son reckons we're going to get snow, and he reckons we're going to get a lot of snow. I'm waiting to see whether he's going to be right. We haven't had snow for a while. We have had it in the past, but this year the snow seems to be falling a lot lower, and it started very early, so he could be right. Next week we're going to have I think next Tuesday we're supposed to have a day that's going to be about -1. Our days at the moment are averaging around about 8, but then the wind chill factor takes it down lower into the minuses. But next Tuesday, we're supposed to have a -1. So we could be looking at some very cold weather and maybe snow next week. We'll wait and see. I keep hoping next week, because I always say that we've got to have some snow to make it worthwhile putting up with all this cold weather. Not that I've got a choice about it or not. But anyway, I've just added a glue dot on the back of my bow there and added that onto there like that. So let's just move all these out, because that's now my card finished. So fairly simple card. Really just wanted to show you the blender pens and how you can use those just to give it a little bit of light colouring, and this beautiful stamp set. Now, I haven't even started. I mean, this is the first time I've played with this. So that's much chillier than what you have right now. Yeah, well, my son's in Tasmania. Well, he's supposed to be coming home, I think, any day now, but they've been down in Tasmania, so it'd be interesting to see what weather they've had down there. It's supposed to be a lot colder, because they're further south, closer to the Antarctic, and I think New Zealand is too. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I love this stamp set, mainly because it has got a little bit of an Australian theme to it. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you get the chance to purchase this one and have a go at making it yourself. As I said, this is the first time I've used it, so I haven't made with any of the other animals. Let me just grab the stamp set so you can, here it is. So you can see, so you've got your panda and you've got your raccoon. So yeah, there's lots of things you can do with this one, I think, to have a little bit of fun with it. As I said, I haven't put a sentiment on it because I do want to send it to my sister, and it won't be sent for her birthday or anything like that. I'll probably actually just write a note on another piece of paper inside so she can actually reuse this card to one of her friends over there in England. So hope you've enjoyed that. Let me just pop my camera back towards me again. Yeah, so I hope you've really enjoyed that. Just remember, as I said, next week I will not be doing a live as I'll be away for 3 days. I'm only going to be in the town next door, just 15 minutes down the road. So I'm not going to be too far away, but I will be tied up each day for 3 days, having fun and embroidering. And you never know, I might show you what I make next time I'm on here. I'm actually playing with some wool felt, some pearl threads, variegated in colour, and I've been die cutting using some of our dies and some of our deleted dies to die cut some little flowers out of felt. So I'm going to have a play with felt, and but I'm using a little bit of Stampin' Up stuff with the dies, and I'll take my mini die cutting machine with me on the weekend so I can play a bit more, but it'll be playing with colours in embroidery rather than with inks. So have a great fortnight. Look forward to catching up with you in 2 weeks' time, and yeah, take care and have a lovely weekend. You too, Bryony. You have a great weekend as well. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye for now. Take care. Bye.